Hello and welcome to this tutorial on Microsoft Excel. We're going to create a type of game, or if you like, an educational quiz. And before you hear are some examples or different variations of this particular activity. So what I would normally do is just one example, but in this particular one I'm actually going to mix it up a little bit. So I'm going to mix in a little bit of a question with words, a question that includes an image, and some that requires answers in numbers as well. So it's going to mix it up a little bit, but let's go. So you need to have Microsoft Excel open, and we can start anywhere, any cell. We'll start in this particular cell. So we'll go to column B in row A, and that meets at B2. Before I do this, I'm going to put back my formula bar so that you can see the name of this cell up here, and you'll also see the formulas going along there. So to begin with, let's say we're going to ask the user a question. Let's start with a number 3, and we're going to pretend that we're going to multiply that number by 2. And we'll want the student or the user to type in the correct answer here. So we'll give a little heading here, ANS, short for answer. And actually what we'll do is we'll write response, and we'll write here answer. And then we'll write here a test. So what we're going to do here is we're going to test whether the user got it right, and here the user will type in their response, and this will be the correct answer. So 3 times 2 is 6, but let's use a formula to get that correct answer. So correct answers go here first. So equals B2 times this value, D2, and we press enter. Now let's say the student puts in the right answer. They're going to put in the correct answer 6, so we'll put 6 in there. Let's test to see if that is correct, and this is how we do it. We go this cell equals, and we're going to ask Excel a question. We're going to say if, an open bracket, we're going to test a logical test. So what we're going to say is, does this cell equal this cell, comma. So if that statement is true, if that cell does equal that cell, then we want to say the word correct. And notice that I've used the quotation marks, the double quotation marks there around the word correct, because for any text in Excel you need to define it as text. Otherwise we could get errors. So the next thing is, you'll notice that this formula is prompting us. It tells us we need a comma there. So we put in another comma, and now it's asking us for the value if it's false. So if it's not equal, if E2 does not equal F2, then we want the word incorrect. Close our bracket, close our quotation, and then close our bracket and press enter. Now it's saying it's correct. Let's put in the wrong answer. So the user puts in the wrong answer, and it says it's incorrect. Now let's put that the right answer again. So that formula is working for us. Don't worry about your formatting at the moment. We're going to fix all that up later. Now before I go any further, I want to format these cells. So I'm going to make them square cells for these ones here. So I'm going to select these columns, these 3 columns. So to select a column, bring your mouse cursor up to the first column that you want to select and click on it once with your mouse. Now hold down that left mouse button and drag it along to have selected the 3 of them. Now bring your mouse cursor up so you get that change in the icon. Click once, and let's take it up to say 80 pixels. Here we go. So we've selected 3 columns and we've made them each the same width. Now we want to do that with rows, and we'll do that with 1, 2, 3, 4 6 rows. Just to make this a little bit more interesting, we're going to do it with 6 rows I've selected there, so from row 2 round to row 7, and we'll make them the same depth as well, so we'll go down to 60 pixels. Okay, now in row 3, let's put in a different equation, a different question, but still using numbers. So let's try for plus 5. Oops, see what's happened? You can see the little marching ants there first of all, and you can see that Excel has added the reference D3. Because what I've done is I've used my arrow, or I've actually just clicked it in the cell next to it. Now what you need to do when you put in a text symbol like plus, you need to press enter. Now to get out of this problem, we just press the escape key on your keyboard. There we go. So that's reversed it. So now I'm going to type the plus and I'm going to press enter, and I won't have that problem with the marching ants. So let's type another number in there, press enter. Now the correct response to that would be, remember what we did up here? We just typed in a number. So we're going to have a guess and say that it's 9. And then in F3 we're going to type in a formula like we did above that will calculate that times that. Okay, so the cell equals this cell plus this cell. Press enter. And that is the correct answer, and this is the answer the user is going to respond with. Now we can bring this formula, we can retype it down here, or we can copy it down. And I've shown you that before as well. Show me again though. In the corner there's a square box, black square box. You bring your cursor up till you get the little black cross, click on it with your left mouse button, and then drag it down. Okay, so the next one, we're actually going to put in a picture, but we're going to type a bit of text as well. So this is, let's say this, and then we'll say is a, and the response will go here. And we've got to put a picture in here. So let's choose an image. Insert, let's use our clip art and choose something nice and easy like say an apple. We're only looking for pictures, that's good. Click on go. Let's find an apple. And oops, this went past one. That's a good one, that will do us. So we click on that. It's way too big, so we have to make it smaller. It's not an issue though, we just make that a lot smaller. And a lot of white space on that we don't need, so I'm going to crop that down. Come up here, whenever you select an image, you'll see your picture tools come up just like you would in Word. So we're going to click on the crop now, and we'll get rid of some of this white space that we don't need. There we go. Now we'll click away. Excellent. The other thing we can do is get rid of the background. So let's go up here. We did this in Microsoft Word. Click on remove background. And we're happy with that. So, except for we don't want to get rid of those little boxes there. So we'll mark the areas to keep. Keep that area there. And we want to keep that little area. And make this a bit deeper. Bit deeper. There we go, and when we're happy with that, we can just click away, and we've got just the apple. Got rid of that white background and any other thing that we didn't need. Alright, make that a lot smaller so we can fit the apple in there. Perfect. So this is an, we should say, an would be more appropriate, more grammatically correct, and it is an apple. There we go. Now, in this case, we're not comparing two cells, we've just got an object. So the answer will be simply apple. And we can copy, we can copy that down, sorry. We can copy that formula down again because it's looking at those two cells. Alright, so we're looking at an apple. Make that a little bit smaller again. Let's look at another object. This is and I'm going to put in a butterfly this time. So let's go up to our insert ribbon, down to clip art, and we'll type in butterfly. Let's find a little butterfly. That one will do. Doesn't have to be anything special for this exercise. There we go. We'll need to remove some of that background. That looks pretty good. There we go. So this butterfly is, this object is a butterfly. And the correct answer. Now we're also going to be checking spelling. Okay, we're not going to be checking uppercase to make sure that they've punctuated correctly. We're going to just check that they have recognized the object. And then finally we're going to compare some text. So let's say we can ask a question. How many mils are there in a teaspoon? So you can use this activity in any subject as revision. It's a fun thing to do. The next thing we're going to do, so the correct answer for that is 5. Okay, so we're going to write 5 there, and again we can copy that formula down. Now let's see another question. Alright, what is the abbreviation for teaspoon? Okay, and the correct answer should be teaspoon, TSP, and we'll write that in there as well, and we'll copy that down. Now we don't have to worry about any of the formatting on these cells because we're going to hide them later and no one's going to see them. But we're going to do some calculations on those. Well, these ones we're going to do some hide them, and we're going to do calculations on them. These ones, this is where the student's going to respond. We want to center those. So I'm going to come up here to my home ribbon and I'm going to center them this time horizontally, and I want them vertically centered as well. And we could probably make those bold and maybe italic. But you can format those any way you like, and if you want to, you can even make that column wider and make the font a little bit larger. Now over here, this text is running into the cell. You're losing, you look like you could be losing it if I make it larger. Let's test that. Let's choose these two cells, and we will we'll make them left aligned, which they are, but we'll put them up to the top. We can do all sorts of things. You can play around with that and format them however you think that they look best. Another way one other thing we can actually do is to word wrap it, but I think that'll be fine. No, what we will do that. We'll learn another feature. We're going to click in B6, select those 3 cells, and then right click, come up to Format Cells, and then here we've got several tabs along the top. Choose Alignment. We're going to merge those, and we're going to wrap the text, and we click on OK. And see what it's done? So it's made it turn around and come back here. Let's make the font a little bit larger. There we go. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to see if I can drag that down. A right mouse click, drag it down, release, fill formatting only. We have done that before. Okay, now we've got another copy of that butterfly there somehow. We can just relieve that. Alright, we need to now format these cells. So we can hold down that control key, select one, select another, and just the ones that we need. And we're going to make that font a little bit larger as well. So what font did we use here? We used 16, and that is 18, so we probably want them the same. So I'll go down and make them just 16. Position these a little bit better. That's looking better. And now these 6 cells, we'll select those, and we'll do exactly the same process. So we're going to align those, take them up to 16. I hope you're pausing this regularly. It'll make it a lot easier for you. Okay, so we've done all that. That looks really good. The next thing is we need to find out how many the user has got correct. So over here we're going to type the word correct and incorrect. We're going to now type in a formula under the word correct, and that formula is going to be a new one for you. It is equals count if, and we're going to ask to count on a condition. We only want to count the number of instances of where the user has been correct. So equals count if, open a bracket. Now this formula is asking for a range, and this is our range. So you take your mouse, click on G2, and then drag down to select those 6 cells. And our formula then tells us we need a comma. You should be able to see a comma just there. So we type a comma, and then it's asking for a criteria. We want the criteria, the word, to be correct. So we have to use the double quotation mark, the word correct, close your quotation, and close your bracket, and press enter. Okay, so that has counted 6 instances of the word correct. Let's do it for incorrect. So equals, we say this cell equals count if. We want to count something based on it asking a question. So we have to use the open bracket, and then we choose our range. We type in a comma because our formula is telling us we need that, and then it needs a criteria, and in this case it's going to be the word incorrect. Close your quotation, close your bracket, and press enter. So we haven't got any wrong. Let's test that. Let's put in the wrong answer over here. Let's put in a 5 and then press enter. Now we've got 5 correct and 1 incorrect. So we're doing pretty well, but there is we can improve this game. So I'm going to stop this part of the video now, and I'm going to go to part B. So I hope you save your work at this stage, and you've been taking screen captures as you go. We can start hiding these 2 columns. So just bring your mouse cursor up to the F column, hold your mouse button down, and drag it across to G as well. Then right click with your mouse button, and come down to hide. So we don't need to see those anymore. Next, we need to select these 4 cells, correct, incorrect, and then down. So those 4 cells, so click once, holding your the left mouse button down, move your mouse to the right and down to the selected, and now we're going to put in a chart that's going to respond to all the answers, whether they're correct or incorrect. So coming up to the insert ribbon here, and we go across to column, and we just choose the first one will be fine. But you could actually choose any of them, but I'm just going to choose that first one, and just drag this chart over here a little bit. There we go. Now, lots of things we can do to this. We can get rid of series there, just click on it once and then click delete. We can click on these bars here, click on one of them and just do a right click, and let's format that data series. There we go. What we want to do is I want to make that gap smaller. So I want to make the bars wider like that. A bit more. There we go. You can actually join them all the way together. You can do that if you like. You can also change the color, and I'll leave it up to you to entirely if you want to use a pattern, whatever you like to do, or solid fill. You can put a border on it or no border, so maybe no border. You could put a shadow, you could put soft edges on it. It's really entirely up to you how you would like to do this. And even a 3D, put a bevel on it there like that. So it's entirely up to you if you want to use any or none of those. Okay, so that's enough of that. You can edit that later or do what you like. Remember, pausing this video regularly. Okay, the next thing we need to do is we need to tell Excel that we don't want them to change this axis here. This is the y-axis. So we're having that selected, go right click with your mouse and select Format. And at the moment it's automatic, which means as this goes down, and I'll just give you an example, if I change this to a 4, oops, I need to put in a 4, this goes up, that goes down. Let me do another one that's wrong. You'll see now, this is a good way of showing you, that this axis has changed, and instead of this actually looking like it's getting smaller, it actually looks like it's staying about the same. So let's undo what we just did there, those responses, and go back to this axis. Do a right, oops, click on it and do a right click on it, Format Axes, bring this back over here. And we're going to fix these values. So we're going to fix the minimum value at 0 and the maximum at 6. The major units will be 1 and the minor units will be 1 as well. And we'll just go close on that. Right, now we've done that, we can actually delete that axis. So just press the delete key, gets rid of it. Now click on these lines, we actually don't need those either, although you may like to keep them, it's entirely up to you. But these lines we don't need, so we click on just a line and then delete them. And then next we can actually resize this graph, so we'll make it a bit skinnier. Bring it over here. And these are the ones that are correct and they're incorrect. Now that's not formatted very well. I haven't used capitals, so I'm going to type correct that. So correct and incorrect. And I'm going to center those as well. That's a bit better. And let's see if I make them bold, if that changes it as well. Okay, it didn't make any difference. But what we need to do now is you don't actually need to see these. So later on what we'll do is we can do it now, is make them white. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to reveal those two hidden columns to tidy up this game. So we just select E and H, right click, and come down to unhide. Okay, I'll move that over there now. Okay, so what we need to do is we're testing, that's saying that's incorrect, but I haven't put an answer in there, so we need to change this formula. And we're going to say that if, first before this if statement, before the E equals F2, we're going to type is blank. Okay, so we want to know if is blank, open bracket, the cell, comma. Okay, so we're asking if is blank, better close that quotation. If it is blank, then what we want it to do is, so if true, we want to put in two quotation marks, two double quotation marks, comma. But if it's not blank, we want to test. We want to test if, open bracket, the two cells, those two cells, E2 and F2, if it E2 equals F2, and if it does, we type that it's correct, and if it's not, it's incorrect. So let's take another look at the statement before I press enter. We're asking if this cell E2 is blank, if there's anything in it. Okay, so if there's nothing in it, comma, then we just want to type two quotation marks, comma. Okay, because we're just going to print nothing, there's not going to be a response there. However, if it's not blank, then we're going to ask another question. If E2 equals F2, then the value of correct is correct, and if it's not, then it's incorrect. So let's close off that whole statement with a final bracket and press enter. There you go. So now let's put the correct response back in, put in a response. 5. 1 is incorrect, which is right. That chart is responding correctly. Let's put in the correct response. Chart for correct goes up, incorrect disappears. Let's take that out now. and we don't have any incorrect, and our correctness is not all the way up. So that's exactly what we wanted. Everything's working fine. So let's hide these two columns again. Bring your mouse up to the F column, select it, leave your mouse on it, left button, drag across to the G, then right click and hide. Finally, we'll select these 4 cells and we will make the text white. Click away, bring our chart over here, resize it a little bit. We can actually select this text here too, and we can make that a little bit larger and make it bold. We could even make it italic if we want to. Okay, so there's all those things you can do to it. The next thing is, oops, double clicked on that accidentally. This little, okay, so we're happy with that. The next thing I want to do is put in a row across the top and give my game a heading. So I'm going to select row 1. So bringing my mouse up to and click on the 1, go right click and insert. Now I want to adjust that row so it's a bit deeper. Bring it down, just drag it down a bit, and then I'm going to, if I'm going too fast, just pause. Select cell A1 and go along with my mouse to M1, come up to your home ribbon, to this icon here in the alignment area, to merge and center, and give your game a name. So we'll call this right or wrong, question mark. You can call the game anything you like. Let's click on that again. Let's center it and make that heading bolder. Bold and italics. We could even change the font on that if you would like. There we go. Now, to last minute changes to tidy this up, we're going to want the users to put in some responses here. So I need you to click on that cell and come down to the last one. This is this response area. And you go up to, you do a right click with your mouse and come down to formatting cells. Go across to protection, and I want you to unlock them. So get rid of that tick where it says locked and click on OK. Now that will allow, in a moment, when we lock this worksheet, it will allow the user to type in those boxes but nowhere else and be able to mess up your formulas. Before we lock this worksheet, we're going to go up to the View ribbon. We're going to get rid of the formulas, the headings and the grid lines. And that's looking pretty good. We're going to now go up to Review and Protect the Sheet. And what you need to remember here is to remove the tick next to Select Lock Cells. And I would suggest against putting in a password, but you can. And because if you put in a password and you forget it, you won't be able to change this later. Now click OK, and we'll minimize our ribbon. So we just right click on the ribbon and go minimize, and that looks really, really good. The only other thing you might do to that is to put another image on there somewhere. But before anyone can start the game, you need to delete the responses. Do you know what we didn't do? Can you see what we haven't done? We haven't changed our formulas to check whether we've got it right or wrong. So we're going to have to go back into Review, unprotect your sheet. We're going to have to put back in our headings. So we go to View, View and Headings. We're going to have to reveal those headings again, but before we do that, just move your chart over, select those two columns, right click, and we will go down to Unhide, and where we have this formula, let's go and look at our formula. Where we have that formula, we're going to just copy it down again like we did before. There's no responses there, so there's nothing in the chart, and that's what we want. Let's select those two columns again, right click and hide them. Put that chart back. One more thing we forgot to put in is our name. You've got to put your name in there so we know who did it. So we'll come down here. Actually, we can make this chart a little bit smaller and type your name. So by Tanya Duffy. I could make that a little bit larger. Now I'm going to go back up to review. I'm going to protect my sheet. OK. I'm going to remove my headers and my formula bar. And there you go, there is your game. Let's test it. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 plus 5 is 9. This is an apple. Oops, that's not spelt correctly. Let's see what happens when I put that in. It's incorrect. Let's type it again, and it's correct. Next one is a butterfly. How many meals? 5 meals. Abbreviation TSP. Well done. Now, there is a way you can change your formula to recognize whether you've used a capital for the first letter or not. But I'm going to let you research that and find out how to do that. That's all for now. I hope you enjoyed that activity.